Championship, Chapter 33, entitled The Transfusion. An hour after the swap, Leon, PW, and Lily Matisse, plus one very smelly army jacket, were back at Trimore Towers. Leon chained the door to his apartment and prepared for yet another operation. Lily Matisse set out the towel. PW, go fetch the bed lamp. I'll check over the repair tools. Want me to prep Fethead? PW asked after he'd plugged in the lamp. Not yet, said Leon. First, we've got to turn Lumpkin's jacket into stuffing. Here, take a sleeve. PW grabbed onto one cuff. Leon held the other. Ready? Said Leon. PW nodded, and the two boys tugged in opposite directions. Man, oh man, this cotton is tough, PW declared. You won't get anywhere doing that, said Lily Matisse. Why not use the knife ring? Good idea, said Leon. Lily Matisse and PW held up the jacket, and Leon attacked it like a half-crazed ninja. In a few minutes, he had reduced the sleeves to shreds. That must have been satisfying, said PW. It was, Leon confirmed. I just hope the material wads up okay. Why shouldn't it? Lily Matisse asked nervously. Because it's a lot thicker than pantyhose, said Leon. It'll work fine, PW said. Now let's get this operation over with. Hold on, said Leon. There's one more thing I do before I start. One more thing to do before I start. He reached under his bed and pulled out a bag of Fertil's double crunchers. What are those for? Asked Lily Matisse. Don't you remember what Sparks said during the flame-out experiment and the potato clock lab? Remind us, said PW. Leon opened the bag and said, Sparks told us potato chips are a first-rate energy source. He took a chip and ate it. Hey, give me some of that energy source, PW demanded. And me, said Lily Matisse. The contents of the bag quickly vanished. Now can you operate? PW asked. Yup, said Leon. He reopened the seam running just above Fathead's scalp line. Pantyhose popped out the moment he released the pressure. Leon placed the gray matter to one side. He looks like a beady-eyed sock, said Lily Matisse after the dehosing. Fathead ain't Fathead no more, said PW. Leon adjusted the wire hanger armature inside the emptied figure, then began the refilling process. He poked small wads of jacket cotton into the extremities with the eraser end of a pencil. The results proved disappointing. The material keeps bunching up funny, he said as he removed the stuffing. Why don't you do what my mom does when she has her class make pincushions? Lily Matisse said. What's that? Said Leon. Lily Matisse picked up a strip of cotton and pulled at the individual threads until the fabric turned into fluff. Leon rubbed the fluff between his fingers. Not bad, he said. It might work. After an hour spent teasing apart the cotton, Leon said, That ought to do it. He refilled the body with the fluff and closed the hairline seam. He's still a little bit lumpy, but the shape is a whole lot better than before. We should double-check for biometric inconsistencies, PW said. You've got to be kidding, said Lily Matisse. Do I look like I'm kidding? PW's expression made clear he was not. So Lily Matisse and Leon waited while PW took measurements of the limbs, head, and body of the refilled spitting image and then compared them with the numbers on his graph paper chart. Perfect, PW declared. I can barely tell the difference between Fathead and this new guy, said Lily Matisse. He's not as spongy, said Leon, but I have to admit he looks pretty good. What are we calling this version? Lily Matisse asked. How about refill, said PW. Leon shook his head. Nah, that's kind of boring. Cottontail? Said Lily Matisse. PW grimaced. You can't be serious. That's way, way too girly. What about Pumpkinhead 4.0, codename Army Boy? Forget it, said Lily Matisse. How about Lumpy? Leon suggested. Lumpy isn't bad, Lily Matisse allowed. It's kind of a cross between Bumpy and Lumpkin. Lumpy it is, said PW. So when do we find out if Lumpy controls Lumpkin? Asked Lily Matisse. The sooner the better, said PW. No need to convince me. said Leon. How about tomorrow at 0800? PW proposed. What's that in real time? Lily Matisse asked. 8 in the morning, said PW. Sounds like a plan, said Leon.